One winter morning in Alberta, during the coldest spell in Canadian history, Jake Logan awoke to a silence that belied the fury of the storm outside. In his modest kitchen, every surface shimmered with a delicate frost, and the old thermometer on the wall boldly declared -45°C. As he poured a steaming cup of coffee into a chipped mug, memories of past winters, both harsh and beautiful, drifted through his mind. Despite a lifetime of braving the cold, this morning's chill felt almost otherworldly, as if nature herself had decided to test his resolve. Stepping to the window, Jake's eyes were drawn to a world transformed. Every blade of grass and fallen leaf was encased in ice, glistening like a field of tiny diamonds under a pale winter sun. Outside, the wind roared, hurling thick drifts of snow that danced in relentless columns. It was then that a strange, rhythmic sound interrupted his reverie, a gentle, insistent knocking carried on the wind. With a mixture of trepidation and curiosity, Jake pulled on his heavy coat, wrapped a woolen scarf tightly around his face, and ventured out onto his frost-covered porch. In the swirling white, a majestic figure gradually emerged. A large mother bear, her fur dusted with glistening ice, moved with a deliberate grace that belied the severity of the storm. At her heels, 3 small cubs tumbled over one another, their playful energy a stark contrast to the unforgiving cold. Their eyes, wide with a mixture of innocence and urgency, fixed on Jake as if silently pleading for help. In that charged moment, time itself seemed to pause, and the boundaries between human and wild blurred into a single shared need. Though fear prickled at the edges of his mind, Jake's heart overflowed with compassion. He opened the door just a crack, enough to let the icy wind mingle with the warmth of his home, and there they stood, a family bound by a desperate need to escape the brutal cold. The mother bear's gaze met his with a soulful intensity that spoke of longing and trust, and as the cubs inched forward, the unspoken understanding between them deepened. "I'm here," he murmured softly, his voice barely rising above the wind, a gentle promise that shelter awaited them inside. Inside, the modest living room transformed into a sanctuary against nature's relentless assault. Jake hurried to gather extra blankets and shift a pile of well-worn cushions near the crackling fireplace. The bear family, cautious yet hopeful, followed his lead. The cubs explored the room with curious sniffs and tentative steps, their small paws leaving fleeting prints on the worn rug, while the mother bear settled protectively near the warmth of the fire. For hours, the room became a haven, a place where the ferocity of the storm was held at bay by the simple, transformative power of compassion. As the wind howled outside, Jake found himself recalling the long, winding paths of his own past. Memories of youthful adventures in the vast snowy forests, lessons learned from his father about respecting the wild, and quiet moments of solitude where the beauty of nature mingled with its cruelty, all came flooding back. In those reflective moments, the bear family symbolized more than just a need for refuge, they were a mirror to his own vulnerability and the universal yearning for warmth and connection. Night deepened, and the storm's fury gradually softened into a murmuring lullaby of winter winds. The fire's embers glowed with a steady, comforting light, and in that gentle illumination, the unlikely companions found solace. One of the cubs, emboldened by the security of the moment, approached Jake with a timid curiosity. Gently, Jake extended his hand, careful and patient, allowing the tiny creature to sense the warmth of a kind heart. In that fleeting touch, the man and the animal shared a silent dialogue, a recognition that in the heart of winter's desolation, even the smallest act of kindness could bridge the gap between two very different worlds. With the first light of dawn creeping over the horizon, the storm began to ease its relentless assault. The bear family gathered at the threshold of Jake's home, their eyes lingering on the man who had offered them refuge. The mother bear, in a final, poignant moment of connection, looked back at Jake as if to say goodbye, her gaze filled with gratitude and the quiet resignation of one who must return to the wild. The cubs, still filled with a fragile playfulness, scampered forward one last time before they disappeared into the blanket of snow, leaving behind traces of tiny paw prints that soon melted away under the soft morning sun. Later that day, as Jake sat at his kitchen table with a fresh cup of coffee, he reread the words in his journal, a chronicle of a night that had transformed an ordinary winter into an extraordinary testament to the resilience of the human spirit. He marveled at how, in the bleakest hours of a merciless winter, a single act of empathy had kindled a warmth that defied the icy grip of the cold. The experience had woven itself into the fabric of the local community as well. Neighbors spoke in hushed tones of the miraculous night when nature's wild heart sought refuge in a humble home, and the story grew into a cherished legend of hope and unity. In the quiet aftermath, as the town slowly stirred back to life, Jake's thoughts lingered on the profound lesson the night had taught him, that every living being, whether man or beast, harbors a deep-seated need for care and connection. In the shared silence of that stormy night, the barriers between species had crumbled, revealing the universal truth that compassion knows no bounds. For days to come, the memory of that encounter would warm his heart, a beacon against the chill of solitude. And on quiet evenings, as the stars emerged one by one in the clear, frosty sky, Jake would often sit by the window and remember the gentle eyes of the mother bear and the playful leaps of her cubs, a reminder that even in the coldest of times, hope and kindness can spark a light that endures long after the winter fades.